In civil society, the work that we do can often feel abstract and theoretical. So it was extremely exciting for me to be presented with such a wide range of impactful stewardship initiatives. I was amazed by what these collaborative initiatives have achieved in making real-world changes. From my perspective, which is rooted in my experience in South Africa, I was particularly impressed and encouraged by the collaborative engagement initiatives in this category, because there is so little investor collaboration in South Africa. These examples of such successful and wide-ranging intervention should make it clear to investors everywhere that they really do have the power to change the way the world works. The Investor Mining and Tailing Safety Initiative was, to me, an almost superhuman feat of achievement. It is impossible not to be impressed by the global scope of the initiative, the immediate practical improvements for people and the environment, the sensitivity to the views and experiences of affected communities, and the extraordinary speed at which the initiative was conceived and finalized. From now on, whenever I encounter anyone who is skeptical about responsible investment and active ownership, I will be referring them to the Investor Mining and Tailing Safety Initiative.
So one of the most notable things about this category is the variety of approaches and entries that the proponents took. Someone coined the term aggregate confusion to describe the wild variety of approaches in ESG now on the market. But I actually think aggregate confusion is a signal of rapid market growth and interest from investors in ESG. On the one hand, the entrants showed a dizzying array of ESG integration objectives, what the purposes of their ESG integration efforts were, and approaches. But the firms are also developing a really excellent range of practices to create either novel funds or, even better, to integrate ESG across their businesses. The front-running candidates had a variety of different objectives in their ESG integration. Some were trying to target ESG high performers, while others were more narrowly trying to reduce exposure or risk related to the high carbon economy. But one of the features that they shared in common was that they were very clear about identifying the objectives of ESG integration for their practice, which led to much clearer views as to what data was useful for that objectives, what assumptions they would make about that data, and the methods that they would use to integrate ESG into the practice. And certainly that was reflective of the winner of the award.
I believe that this is an important category because research reports, when done properly, help guide our thinking and can lead to specific actions that we can take regarding various aspects of ESG. They are often relevant for investors, corporations, regulators and policymakers alike, and as such have the potential to influence the behavior of many agents in the markets, and ultimately they have the ability to improve overall welfare. The winning entry is really a combination of reports that each ask a profound question about future trends in ESG. Each of these questions alone is important in and of itself, ranging from the race to cut carbon, to gender parity on the board, to the regulation of ESG. The winning entry brings unique data to bear on each of these questions that have very broad relevance. Importantly, it makes you think about how you can benefit from certain trends, who the winners and losers will be, but also what actions you can take to stop certain trends, for example, when it comes to deforestation. What is also important is that this information was presented in a concise way that was easily accessible over the web.
So I acted as a jury of this award, and I learned a lot from going through the projects. The entries are from many countries all over the world, from North America, Africa, Asia, Europe, and I learned that there is a social issue existing in each country, each region, and then I enjoyed a lot the people's way to approach those social issues. It was very difficult for me to select one winning entries because each one is good with a strong commitment. It was a very hard job for me to select one. So I highly regard this project because the way it is structured to make sure that they could achieve the good impact through the good execution. They address those countries where the demand is very critical, so there is good upside. And secondly, they actually not only provide the finance but technical assistance to make sure execution is good. And those countries are very challenging countries, so they provide structure also the multi-layer structure. It's a public-private sector partnership. So public sector capital could take a fast growth, take more risk, which encourages private sectors to join. And fourthly, they team up with the local financial institutions. That's good because they can deal with the if they directly deal with the projects, it's very hard for them to achieve everything. Going through the local financial institutions, they could scale up the impact as well as the training of the local institutions for green financing. Those are the very good things I discovered for this particular project.
This category is so important because in many cases, emerging markets are the places in which the worst impacts of unchecked capitalism are felt. These are the places where resource extraction destroys biodiversity, pollutes water, air, and soil, and displaces and disrespects local populations. These are the places where weak governance provides an opportunity to evade tax, treat workers poorly, and ignore regulations. On that note, in future, I really hope that we'll see many more entries from Africa. The most significant standout message from these entries is that there are no shortcuts to impactful ESG integration. Meaningful ESG analysis is hard work, but hard work that is worth it in terms of returns on investment and returns to the planet. Incorporating ESG into investment decisions can be extremely challenging. ABRIS has developed a tool that is both comprehensive in coverage and responsive to new emerging risks and opportunities. By allowing for a measurable and consistent approach and linking ESG risk to financial impacts, ABRIS has been able to overcome many of the challenges of incorporating ESG.